Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, let's jump right into this. Today we're taking a super fascinating, highly structured journey into something we all know about, but let's be real, rarely practiced systematically. We're talking about the transformative power of gratitude. We're going to break down a really practical step-by-step framework that takes this fleeting feeling and turns it into a rock-solid daily habit.
But before we even get into the mechanics of how this works, I actually want to ask you a question directly from our source material. What can you see right this very second that you are absolutely thankful for?
Seriously, I mean it. Look up from your screen right now. Scan the room you're in. Find just one single item you can give thanks for in this exact moment. Is it a super comfortable chair? A hot cup of coffee? Maybe just the blue sky out your window? Find it and hold on to that feeling, because that tiny, hyper-focused moment of appreciation, that's the exact foundation of the framework we're exploring today.
And that brings us to the core philosophy of Lori Ferguson. Lori is the author behind 30 Days of Thankfulness, which is the source text for our explainer today. Now, what's really interesting here is her backstory. You see, Lori didn't write this from a place of constant, easy perfection. Actually, she explains that her focus on optimism grew out of a period of deep discouragement and difficulty. She started researching thankfulness because she had a hunch. She thought, maybe this could change her internal landscape and perhaps even impact the world around her. And guess what? As she discovered, it absolutely did.
Now, you don't just have to take her word for it. To firmly establish the why behind this practice, our source points directly to Harvard Medical School. So the absolute crucial point here is that gratitude isn't just some fluffy, feel-good concept. It's a scientifically backed psychological tool. It literally helps us feel more positive emotions, relish good experiences, improve our physical health, deal with adversity, and build stronger relationships. I mean, looking at that list, there is definitely something on there that every single one of us could use a little more of, right?
But cultivating a grateful character doesn't just happen by accident. It really has to be nurtured. So Lori's framework is built on this idea of taking little bites over time. The barrier to entry here is wonderfully low. Step 1, grab a notebook, an app, or maybe even create a clip of a mind map on the topic of discussion in the uploaded book to visually track your thoughts. Step 2, commit to recording your answers daily for 30 days. And step 3, and honestly this is my favorite part, make your own rules. If a prompt doesn't work for you, skip it. If you want to repeat a favorite, do it. This explainer is just a guide to jumpstart that engine.
Finding joy in small things. So let's see how this challenge actually trains our brains to notice those highly relatable, everyday details.
We're going to fast forward right to day 5 of the challenge. The pace kind of picks up here because gratitude is so often found in rapid, everyday moments.
So day 5 asks us to be thankful for books. And the source material breaks this down so beautifully. Huge tomes, tiny treasures, ancient words, or hey, even just the modern convenience of carrying hundreds of books on a Kindle. Lori shares this really deeply personal anecdote here. She remembers being a young girl going to the library right after her piano lessons and the absolute thrill she felt when her mother finally let her stay in the kids section all by herself. She describes it as feeling like she had literally won the lottery. That hyper-specific, pure joy, that is exactly what we're trying to recapture.
Jumping ahead, let's take a look at day 15. This prompt asks us to focus our gratitude on something completely different, new things in our lives.
Now, consider how beautifully mundane this next item is. The author points out the very unique sense of gratitude you feel when you've just sneezed, and sitting right by your side is a brand new, completely full box of tissues ready to meet your exact need. It's such a specific, funny example, right? But it proves that gratitude doesn't have to be overwhelmingly profound or life-altering to be entirely valid and totally worth recording.
Let's reel it back to day 7 for a second. This is a prompt that anyone who loves to unwind after a long day is going to deeply appreciate.
Day 7 asks you to be thankful for your spot. You know the spot. It's where you sit in your absolute most comfortable clothes, maybe your pajamas. It's where you take a massive deep breath to decompress. Maybe there's a side table right there for your coffee or a glass of wine. Look, life gets incredibly busy, and having a dedicated physical space to simply stop and breathe is a luxury we so often overlook. Recognizing it really builds that daily habit of thankfulness.
Deepening your gratitude practice. As we move past the first week or so of the challenge, we transition away from physical objects toward deeper emotional and historical reflections.
So the crucial point in the middle of the month is looking inward. The prompts gently guide you to reflect on what actually shapes your character.
For instance, being thankful for the joy of laughter and the comedians or movies that bring it out of you. Or making a list of the silent mentors who invested their time and energy into who you are today. It even asks you to document those cherished seasonal or birthday traditions that really anchor your year.
And that brings us perfectly to day 27. This prompt asks us to be thankful for a reminder, specifically looking back at photos from our personal history. This is where the gratitude can well up into something massive and really deeply humbling.
To illustrate this, Lori shares a really powerful family story. She has a photo of her city-dwelling grandparents who totally uprooted their lives to live in a tent for an entire year in Northern Ontario, Canada. They moved out into the total wilderness with their 10-year-old son, who is Lori's father, by the way, literally reading books just to figure out how to farm and build a house. Looking at that photo fills her with immense gratitude for their courage and the incredible sacrifices they made, sacrifices that directly benefit her life today. It really makes you ask, what history sits in your photo albums that you owe your current life to? Building a grateful life. For this final phase of our explainer, we'll look at how building this internal practice inevitably ripples outward to affect our relationships and how we connect with the world around us.
Let's look at day 25. This one is a critical pivot because it asks us to document and be thankful for the highly specific, tangible ways we feel loved by other people. The source actually draws directly on Gary Chapman's famous 5 love languages to help us categorize this. We all experience love in very distinct ways, right? Receiving a thoughtful gift, spending really focused time with someone, getting a big physical hug, having someone perform a helpful act of service for us, or hearing encouraging words of affirmation. Take a look at these categories and ask yourself, which of these actions actually makes you feel the most deeply grateful when someone does it through you? Pinpointing that is a huge step in understanding your own gratitude.
And that flows perfectly right into day 26, which challenges the audience to make a list of all the people who have served your needs this past week. Just think about the sheer scale of human effort required to keep your life running. Dwell on the immense value of living in a society where your daily needs, from the groceries sitting on your shelf to the clean water coming right out of your tap, are met by the hard work of countless others. It's wild, and it really shifts your perspective.
Finally, as we reach the end of our explainer, we arrive at the culmination of Lori Ferguson's workbook. After 30 days of these daily reflections, she leaves the reader with one ultimate ongoing challenge.
This is the actionable takeaway that you can honestly start using today. First, physically write down 3 things you are thankful for. Second, actively express your gratitude to at least one important person in your life. Like, don't just feel it, actually communicate it to them. And third, make a conscious effort to smile more. Remember what we talked about at the very beginning? A grateful character doesn't just magically appear out of thin air. It's a habit, and it is built through small, intentional daily actions exactly like these. So, having seen the structure, having seen how it moves from a simple box of tissues all the way to the profound sacrifices of our ancestors, I want to leave you with this final thought. If you were to grab a notebook right now and begin your own day 1, what will your 30 days look like? What hidden joys are just waiting for you to simply notice them? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, happy reflecting.